Okay, hello, my name's Liz Crompton. I'm from Pennyforth Junior School, and I'm here to talk about how I've used a global charity to develop oracy in the classroom. My aim is to demonstrate how a thematic approach combined with thinking skills approach has been used to develop oracy in my classroom. I first of all started by looking at the research into oracy, which is not a great field, to be honest. And I stumbled upon the UK National Oracy Project. And here I was reminded of the benefits and importance of developing oracy and the speaking and listening skills. And after all, it always has been and will be a rehearsal for writing. After all, how often do we remind children to rehearse what they want to write? Discussion is fundamental. It leads to improved learnings and significant gains in children's ability to recall, understand and respond to literature. Real discussion is more likely to take place when there's an authentic task, a real reason to communicate. Looked at the different purposes of talk and found that there were 6. Talk to engage, explanatory talk, talk to extend understanding, talk to express learning, and talk to evaluate learning. The birth of an idea. It was last autumn, and I carried out my active research with the knowledge that the school wanted to develop writing and improve outcomes. It was thought that the development of oracy was thought to be a way to improve writing. It was September, a new class, and I wanted to do something that they could do together as a class where I could get to know them quickly and develop the collaborative skills. My theme for the half term was shelters, and the Year 6 are given the additional responsibility of selecting a charity for the year. This was to be Shelter Box. Having consulted the national curriculum, I became confident that most of the range and the skills would be developed. The skills framework is also at the heart of our school, and the 2 communication skills would also be developed. I re-evaluated my thematic planning, and as you can see, many of the subject area skills would be developed throughout this theme. Prior to the lessons, I had a list of my own golden rules relating to the teaching of oracy, and that the groupings should be teacher managed and planned to suit the task, and that all talk activities, even short ones, should have clear and explicit outcomes, to tell all the groups how long they have for a task and to allocate roles for groups, and also to produce success criteria. During my research, the National Oracy Project outlined a model for learning. These are engagement, exploration, transformation, presentation and reflection. I decided to make sure that the thinking skills activities and learning activities followed this model. I started with the graffiti wall. This encourages pupils to record their thoughts, feelings, ideas and suggestions around a particular topic. Further engagement, explanatory talk. Working as a group with assigned roles to produce a concept map showing the primary and secondary purposes of different types of shelters. Each group had prior selected a reporter who was required to feed back to the class. Final stage of engagement. I'd invited a representative from Shelterbox to launch the charity to the whole school. Prior to the presentation, I'd highlighted areas of learning that I expected the children to recall to me following the presentation. This ensured all pupils would listen attentively. Back in the workshop, the children asked pre-arranged questions and recorded the responses. Talk to extend understanding, exploration, spiral thinking. This activity allows pupils to personally reflect and communicate their thoughts, ideas and feelings in a creative way on a particular issue. As a group activity, someone acting as scribe, writing down the emotional vocabulary explored. How would you feel if you lost your home? Transformation. where we had physical diamond ranking. Each pupil was given a photograph of a different type of shelter. They needed to work together to rank the shelters according to different criteria. For example, the speed at which the shelter could be built. Each pupil had to justify to the person standing next to them why they should be allowed to stand in that spot. Once all of the children were lined up, other children would disagree, which would then spark a mini debate. Further transformation. Time to explore different tent-like structures, to discuss each tent's pros and cons and to examine how one is constructed and to look at its structure. Less emphasis here on the developing of oracy, however, the task was needed to gain the experience of building a model shelter and to allow time to discuss what worked well and to be able to apply this to building a real shelter. The success criteria was created by the children. They then took this new knowledge outside. Following lots of blood, sweat and tears with a sprinkling of hilarity, each group had successfully completed building a shelter. While sitting in their shelter, they were asked to allocate the group role to prepare mini presentations about their shelter, to include information about its features and benefits. Final phase of learning, reflection, an equally important part of the learning process. On the evaluation sheet was the success criteria. Each group was required to visit each shelter, discuss it and mark it out of 10. Each group was also required to evaluate their own shelter against a criteria. The data was then entered onto a spreadsheet and graphs produced. Over the following couple of weeks, the children worked on producing a class presentation for a large audience, including many of the types of people shown here. During this time, one session was spent considering what would make an interesting presentation and what they needed to do personally. A criteria was written. This was very well received. Following the final presentation, the children had one last opportunity to discuss and evaluate their own and others' performance against the criteria. Since then, we've raised enough money to help the people in the Congo, and we would like to think that we might have helped a family like this one. Thank you very much.